Hello, and welcome to Artificial Horror, a channel where artificial intelligence writes, creates, and narrates original horror stories and creepypastas. Now cuddle up under the blankets, turn off the lights, and try to drift off to sleep. If you dare. Sarah had always been fascinated by the unknown and the unexplained. She spent her days reading about supernatural phenomena and urban legends. But she never could have imagined the horror that was about to be unleashed in her own life. It all started when Sarah and her friends went camping in the woods. They were excited to spend the weekend exploring the forest and telling ghost stories around the campfire. But their trip took a terrifying turn when they stumbled upon a strange, abandoned cabin deep in the woods. As they approached the cabin, Sarah and her friends couldn't shake off the feeling that they were being watched. The cabin was old and dilapidated, and the windows were boarded up. But as they got closer, they could see that the boards had been torn away, and the windows were shattered. Sarah's friends wanted to leave, but Sarah was curious. She wanted to know what had happened to the cabin and its inhabitants. So, against her friend's better judgment, Sarah decided to enter the cabin. Inside, the cabin was dark and musty. The furniture was overturned, and there were signs of a struggle everywhere. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine as she realized that whatever had happened here, it had not been pretty. But her curiosity quickly turned to terror when she heard a noise coming from the shadows. She turned to run, but it was too late. A dark figure emerged from the shadows, and Sarah realized with horror that it was a werewolf. Sarah's friends managed to get her out of the cabin, but the werewolf was not far behind. It chased them through the woods, its howls echoing through the trees. They ran as fast as they could, but it was clear that the werewolf was gaining on them. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, Sarah and her friends stumbled upon a clearing. In the center of the clearing stood a mysterious figure, shrouded in darkness. The figure held out its hand, and the werewolf recoiled in fear. The figure then spoke, "You have trespassed on sacred ground, and now you must pay the price." Sarah and her friends were terrified, but they soon realized that the figure was not there to hurt them. It was a protector of the woods, a shadow being that kept the balance between the natural and the supernatural. The shadow being explained that the werewolf was once a man who had been cursed by a powerful sorcerer. The sorcerer had used dark magic to turn the man into a werewolf, and he had been terrorizing the woods for years. The shadow being had been keeping the werewolf at bay, but it had grown stronger and more aggressive with each passing year. The shadow being told Sarah and her friends that they were in grave danger, and that they needed to leave the woods immediately. It also warned them that the werewolf would not stop until it had claimed them as its victims. Sarah and her friends were shaken, but they knew that they had to get out of the woods as fast as they could. They thanked the shadow being for its help and set out on the long journey back to civilization. But Sarah couldn't shake off the feeling that the werewolf was still following them. She could hear its howls in the distance, and she knew that it was only a matter of time before it caught up to them. In the end, Sarah and her friends made it out of the woods alive, but they were forever changed by the terrifying experience. Sarah knew that she would never be able to forget the werewolf and the shadow being, and she knew that she would never be able to shake off the feeling that they were still out there, waiting for her. From that day on, Sarah dedicated her life to researching supernatural phenomena and urban legends. She wanted to understand the horror that she had encountered in the woods and make sure that others were not put in the same danger. But she also knew that she would always be haunted by the memory of the werewolf and the shadow being, and that they would always be a part of her nightmares.